What's going on, guys? It's Tarun, the most mid Miraidon player in all the land, but I'm here to show you Miraidon's new tips and tricks for Black Bolt and White Flare. Let's get started. Of course, you're starting with the boys. 2 Miraidon, of course, Tandem Unit, super good ability. You search your deck once per turn, you search your deck for 2 basic lightning Pokemon, put them on your bench. You usually go for a Miraidon and then something else. We'll show you later, but then you can also put down a Miraidon and use that to thin out your deck. Some decks are in Area 0, you can go for like a Pikachu Miraidon and then just fill up your entire board. So 2 Miraidon's pretty good. 2 Iron Hands, we've seen it before, we know and we love what it does. Amp you very much for 1 lightning and 3 colorless, amp you very much for 120. If you take a knockout, you get 1 more prize. So you can either take out some baby Pokemon and get yourself 2 prizes, set yourself up, or if you want to take out something big like a Squawk, get yourself 3 prizes to close out the end game. Zekrom is one of the new friends Miraidon has in this next set. Voltage Burst, 130 base, but it is 50 more for every prize card your opponent has taken, sort of like a Charizard with the lightning variant, but it is very good in the end game because you're effective. If they've taken 4 prizes, you're effectively taking for 330. Slap a charm on it and you're usually just good to go. Squawkabilly, Squawk and Seize, fantastic. Beginning it on your first turn, discard your hand, draw 6. Really good if you start it and you're able to thin down your hand long enough, or if you have just a bunch of energy in the hand, you can Squawk and Seize and get set up that way. Fezandipiti, flip the script. If one of your Pokemon is knocked out on the last turn, you can go ahead and draw 3 cards. It also works with things like Dusclops and Dusknoir if they take a prize using their ability. Ursaluna, very good, extremely late game attacker. Every prize card your opponent's taken, its attack is 1 less. It's all colorless attack for 240, so you use it primarily against Raging Bolt, or at the end game, you just boss up something and hit it. Nice and more neat. We got a Mew EX, Restart, Free Retreat. Genome Hacking is also underrated. You draw until you have 3 cards in hand. Super good late game with an Iono, or if you're able to thin your hand long enough, you're able to get to it. 2 Tynamo. We've seen this Tynamo back years ago in Noble Victories. You've seen Tynamo since, but the free retreater on this one is very good. And also if you start it, you're able to get it out of the active. Dynamotor we've seen twice before, once in Noble Victories 10 years ago in 2022, so about 13 years ago, but you also have it back when Flaffy and Evolving Skies. Super good. You attach a lightning energy from your discard to one of your bench. It doesn't have to be a lightning Pokemon. So being able to use this into conjunction with like an Ursaluna if you need that energy, being able just to attach it to the Zekrom late game is also very good. Overall, Dynamotor is super good. I fell in love with it with Flaffy back in Evolving Skies. Overall, 10 out of 10 ability. Next, you have a Magneton Magnemite line. We've seen this way back when it began, an Overhaul Discharge. It gets knocked out, but you can attach 3 lightning energies from your discard pile to any of your lightning Pokemon. So very good with an Iron Hands attack mid game if you need it. It was very good in H block, FGH block when you had Raikou, or if you needed Raichu to just have that extra power, set yourself up quite nicely. It's also really good if you in tandem with the Zekrom, if you want to knock it out, put some energy on the Zekrom, Dynamo to the Zekrom as well if you want to, and then swing for 180 minimum. Zeraora we saw in Destined Rivals, but it is extremely good. Thunder Raid for 3 lightning, you do have to discard them. However, you can put 210 on the bench on an EX. So while you can't put it on a terrestrialized Pokemon, you can, however, hit a Fezandipiti, you can hit a Mew, you can hit a Squawk, you can hit some smaller things like that if you wanted to. 210 is usually enough to knock it out, and you're having a single prizer in the active spot, so they need a Gust or they just hit it straight up. Overall, it's just a really good idea to have in the deck. I haven't seen many lists online that don't, but when I test online and test against my friends, it is fantastic. Iron Bundle, Hyper Blowers, super good in this upcoming form, especially when Jellicent is coming out, which turns off your tools and items played by hand once it's in the active spot. So being able to Field Blower or Hyper Blower and push that to the bench, they can choose the active. However, if they don't have something else set up, it's usually really good to just essentially reset the board and you're essentially free to do what you want to do. Super good. It's a single, it's a 1 retreat, costs 100 HP, so it's kind of a small boy. However, it has come in clutch too many times, which when I run it at regionals, Hyper Blower is very good. Next, you have 4 Arvens, time for the supporter line. All very consistent lines. Not a whole lot of 1-ofs, a lot of 4-ofs, 3-ofs, things to essentially get you going. Arven, search for a tool and an item. Very good early game, especially if you're going second. Being able to search for either an Evo play if you needed to, but essentially going for like an electric generator and like an air balloon, or like a Nest Ball and an air balloon, or things of that equivalent. Bravery Charms, XP shares, A 4 of I think is absolutely vital in the deck because it essentially is the heart of the deck. A lot of decks will try to run like research and just be a research heavy build. Heavily dislike it, personal opinion. I feel like Arven being able to get exactly what you want and increase your odds of either getting that turn 1 knockout that you need or setting up yourself extremely well for late game, especially Arvening for like a Prime Catcher Charm or a Prime Catcher XP Share, Prime Catcher Air Balloon, whatever you need. Back in older days, 4 Sealstone was just extremely good to have. So 4 Arven is just, I think it's just the absolute smart play. Boss's Orders, fantastic card. Switch one of your opponent's bench to the active spot. We've all seen it. We all love it. Bossing for game is the heartbreak of many, but a joyous occasion for most. A lot of decks will try to run 4 boss. I disagree. I think you need that extra boss for smaller techs like an Iron Bundle, which will help you against Jellicent, an extra tool that you might need like a Bravery Charm, extra energies you might need, or a Stadium. I feel like 3 Boss's Orders is better than, 2, but I've run over 100 games with it against all my friends online, whatever, and it is just 3 is just a cleaner than 4. Because with that 4th, you may want to take it out for something that you need at that moment. Having a boss is not always the smartest play. Occasionally having a tech that helps you in the late game is just always better. Last supporter of the game is Iono. A lot of decks are refusing to run hand disruption. I don't know why. Shuffle your hand at the bottom of the deck. Each player does. You draw for the amount of prizes you have. Very good if you're getting snowed out early game, putting, getting extra cards into hand, or if your opponent has 2 prizes left and they for sure have game in hand and they do, it's always just really good to Iono them. It essentially resets their hand. And also if you Iono, you can also Mew and restart and then Fez to draw 3 if you need to. And you can potentially get your Prime Catcher, your Bundle, your last energy, or a generator you need for game. Talk about the items next. Start us off with one of my favorite cards of all time, Electric Generator. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Up to 2 basic lightning you find there, you can attach to your bench lightning in any way you want. Fantastic card for so many reasons. Miraidon is a very high energy deck. However, having a thing like Electric Generator or ways to essentially make sure that you get the 2, always a fantastic idea. Back in the old days, you had Raikou, so you could Generator to Raikou, retreat your active, and just swing, which was fantastic. It helps you out late game if you need that extra energy going. Just overall, Generator is a fantastic card. When you play a Generator and hit 2, your opponent is going to be silently sobbing. Generator overall has won me so many games. When it whiffs, it's kind of rough. However, within the upcoming Black Ball White Flare set, even if you do manage to whiff, having Dynamotor down and having Magneton is fantastic, and having ways to ensure that you get energies as well is just super clean. Next, we're going to talk about ball searches. For Nest Ball, search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it on the bench. Pretty simple card. However, being able to on your first turn, Nest Ball for a Miraidon and get yourself set up. Tandem unit in and of itself is one of the best abilities in the game. Nest Ball being able to search for your Ursaluna late game, search for Fez, search for Mew. Back in the old days, search for like Greninja, things like that. Nest Ball was just way too clean. The only downside of Nest Ball, you have to bench it, but you can absolutely like burn your Nest Ball if you need to increase your potential for a restart, or it's really good just to do a deck search and shuffle, as well as if they Iono you, or Iono you, unfair stamp you if you need to Nest Ball to get yourself out of a jam. Nest Ball's always good. Next, 3 Ultra Balls. Search your deck for, you discard 2 cards from your hand. However, you can search for any Pokemon, put into your hand. You don't have to put it on the bench, which is fantastic. You can discard 2 cards from your hand. If you have some dead cards in hand, you're able to thin them out. It's also really good if you need to restart and then flip the script. You can Ultra Ball 2 cards out of your hand and then fail the Ultra Ball, and then you just have that empty spot. It's also a really good idea later in the game if you Ultra Ball away something, 2 cards to get yourself a card that's dead, you can Ultra Ball that away to thin out your deck even more if you just need to see more cards in the deck. Next, we're going to go with the 2 switching options. You don't run Latias, which is Skyliner gives all your basic Pokemon free retreat, which in the past has been very good in Area 0 builds. However, switching out your Pokemon in the active to your bench, super clean idea. Has been here since the very beginning for good reason. Miraidon's attack as well does 220. However, you can't attack, or you can't use, you can't attack on your next turn. But if you switch it to the bench, it resets that. So being able to switch it out with a Mew, go back into the Miraidon and boss, fantastic, super clean. It's also good if you have something stuck in the active like an Iron Hands and you don't have a way to get it out of the active or attack. being able to switch into a Mew, or if you start a Ursaluna, worst case scenario, being able to switch. I think it's just way too clean. You could go up to 3 switches if you prefer. However, you would be taking away some of the consistency from other things, smaller techs like the Iron Bundle. So if you feel like 3 switches is key, I would agree with that as well. Last 2 item cards we're going to talk about are a spec of Prime Catcher. It is another bossing orders. However, it is also a switch. You can Prime Catcher up something, switch your Pokemon out, put up like a Mew or something that you know you can retreat out of, and then, you know, it's a free gust, which is fantastic. You can only run 1 per game. However, if you have an Iron Hands and they have like a 1 Dracloak, or if they have a Fan Rotom or something small you can amp for game, you can Prime Catcher that up, switch back into something, and then amp. Or Arm Press as well if you need to. Getting a free attack off of it is always a fantastic idea. Or locking them into a board state which they can't manually retreat. Last one is Super Rod. Recovery is absolutely crucial in this deck because a lot of your things are going to get knocked out really quickly. If you squawk away something that's really important, you have a Super Rod. Super Rodding in 3 energy. Sometimes a good play you could do even is after you Magneton, put 3 energy on something, it gets knocked out, but you Super Rod it back into the deck, a Magnemite and a Magneton, and that's sometimes all you need. Super Rod back in Ursaluna to Nest Ball it for game, Super Rod back a Fez. Anything you need, Super Rod effectively gets you. You get a combination of 3 Pokemon or 3 basic energy, combination of both, being able to get back a lot of the stuff that you've either discarded through misplays, discarded through the nature of the game, or, you know, just having to discard stuff when it gets knocked out. I think it's important to recover it. Some people may argue Night Stretcher is better. However, Night Stretcher does not get you the 3 or get you the option of 3, and you have to put it into hand. And if you're trying to thin out your hand, Super Rod's always the better option. So that's your items there. We're going to talk about tools and stadiums next. A lot of people online, a lot of my friend group as well, are trying to tell me that stadiums are bad. Completely disagree. You need stadium bumps for late game. If your opponent puts down, for example, neutralization zone, which means your rule boxes can't attack any of their non-rule boxes, you're sunk if you don't have a stadium. Things like Pokemon League headquarters, your basics need 1 more energy attack. Sometimes you can only get to those basics through the bare attack they have, so being able to turn that off is just absolutely vital. We're gonna talk about tools first. Air Balloon. Previous rescue board was the goated play. I think Air Balloon's way better. 2 retreat cost of any of your Pokemon is 2 retreat cost less. Air Balloon's really good, especially if you have an Ursaluna in the active. You just need to attach 1 energy. You have Zekrom in the active with a retreat cost of 2. Dynamotor Electric has a retreat cost of 2. Being able to switch that out is fantastic. XP Share, bit of a spicy play. A lot of people aren't running XP Share. Super underrated card. If your active Pokemon gets knocked out, you can attach a basic energy from that Pokemon to the thing that has XP on it. So many times I've run even a Jolta Box and Miraidon in the past. XP Share attached to Zekrom, attach return Dynamotor, boom, you're set. Attached to Ursaluna on the bench, you effectively only need that 1 energy to attack on the next turn. Going into Fez, putting it on something so it has a retreat option also is super underrated. I'm such a fan of the card. It has worked very well for me. If it's prized, it's not the worst case scenario. However, it is another option to recover your energy without having to A, use your Dynamotor for turn, B, use Magneton for turn, or C, pray for a generator plane. Last 2 tools of the deck, 2 Bravery Charms, base of Goemon's card, it's attached, it gets 50 HP. Super good from Miraidon to get to 270. It helps your numbers, in which case they can just easily knock it out. For example, Goldango's on the rise, so being able to force them to have that extra energy in hand to discard something else or make a misplay they wouldn't normally make if you didn't have that charm attached, as well as like Dragon Ball plays, damage counter plays, things like that. It forces them to make their plays a little bit different, which could cause misplays and it could win you the game. The amount of times I've won a game because they couldn't knock out a Bravery Charmed hands, for example, against Zard, or a Bravery Charmed Fez, so Ursaluna can't hit for free. Super clean, super crisp. 2 Bravery Charms I think is good. I don't think you need a 3rd just because you have so limited deck space in other parts of the deck. However, 2 is just a must. Last but not least, before the energy count, stadiums. Stadiums are absolutely crucial in this deck. People say they're bad. I disagree. Academy at Night is very good. You can put a card from your hand on top of your deck. It's very good for generator plays. If you need a Squawk and seize away something, you can keep something on top of the deck. For example, if you have 2 generators in hand or a generator in hand, you can Academy at Night, put that on top and guarantee it. Also, late game, if your opponent is going to Iono you, you can always Academy at Night and put a Prime Catcher or a Fez or something you absolutely need for the next turn that you can't win without. Put it on top of the deck. You might have Restart Out. You might have Flip the Script. It will 100% win you the game. Being able to draw that card that you know is safe, 10 out of 10. Some decks will go for an Area 0 build. However, I think that consistency is key, and I think the 2 Academy at Nights are just very good, as well as like counter stadium plays. Last but not least, the energies. A lot of people are wondering what is the correct amount of energies you need in a Miraidon deck currently. Some decks are going for 16, 17. Some are going for as low as 11, 12. I think a good even number is 14. 14 is good enough that you are increasing your odds of generator without it being too much of an energies in hand. It's very good for Magneton plays or 2 Magneton plays if you need to. Dynamotor, you know for sure you're going to have an energy going. Generators have a much greater likelihood to hit. In my testing, I found that 14 is better because your hand's not so much clogged up. Energies are going to be scattered throughout the deck. And with 15 is a plausible number. However, with 15, you're increasing the odds of starting with too many energies in hand. So I think 14 is just a really solid number. I think if you really wanted to, you could go to 13. However, I think 14 is just, it's a nice even number. You know your odds of hitting your generators are so much higher. As well, if you need Ultra Ball away 2 energies to Dynamotor, I think it's also a fantastic idea. All in all, I really enjoy this deck. I've been playing Miraidon since it first came out in Scarlet Violet. No regrets through thick and thin. So that's the deck. You have a total of, 60 cards as you will. Perfect consistency throughout the deck. There hasn't been a single time that I've wished that I've had an extra energy in hand, or that I didn't start like a Squawkabilly, or I wish I had Miraidons in hand, because even Nest Balls or Ultra Balls, your way to get to it, I think you're going to be in a really good spot come upcoming regionals. There's a good chance to play for Pittsburgh. I'm not too sure, but we will find out. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe to Hole in Legacy. I appreciate them putting me on to talk about Miraidon and its upcoming tips and tricks, and stay tuned for future. Thanks, guys.